In today's video, I'm sharing with you how to make 4 different rice recipes that will leave you smiling and your loved ones asking for more every time you cook rice. I hope you get to try them and let me know in the comment section which of them is your favorite. So sit tight and let's get started. If you want to step up your coconut fried rice game, then this recipe is definitely for you. Hi precious jewels, welcome back to the channel. Today I share with you how I make my signature coconut fried rice or coconut rice. Recreate this recipe and you'll be glad you did. Now let's get started. First, you're going to be needing some coconut. You have to separate the coconut shell from the meat, and I like to cut mine into small pieces like this. After doing that, I'll wash thoroughly and then transfer to the blender and blend. To blend, you can use warm water or you can use room temperature water to blend. But I blended with hot water to help extract all the milk. Now I'm going to blend until it is smooth. Once it is well blended, I'm going to turn it off and set it aside. And for my choice of protein, I'm using chicken. I'm using soft chicken for this so it doesn't take long time to cook. You can use hard chicken if you want to. Now I'm going to season with some thyme, some rosemary, dry rosemary. I'm going to add some seasoning cube. I added a sachet of curry powder. I added some salt, some blended Scotch bonnet pepper and Cayenne pepper. If you have been watching my videos, you know that these two pepper are my best combo. Now I added some dried Cameroon pepper and then some chopped onion. Now I'm going to stir gently to combine. Note, for a delicious and tasty coconut fried rice, you need rich and quality chicken broth. So pay attention whenever you're seasoning your chicken because you want that chicken broth to be very tasty. Now I'm going to cover and allow that to cook for some minutes. I opened and then added some water to help the chicken cook properly. Once I added the water, I'm going to give it a very good stir. Once it is properly combined, I'll cover and allow it to continue cooking until it is very tender. Now for my vegetables, I am using all 3 shades of the bell peppers. I'm going to remove the seeds inside and the vein. I did this to all of the bell peppers. Once I'm done, I'm going to transfer into a plate and wash thoroughly to remove the seeds and every other particles in them. Now to cut, I'm going to cut it into long thin stripes like this. Then I will cut into small sizes. You don't need medium size at all for this recipe. You cut into small sizes. I'll do this to all of my vegetables. And if this is your first time on this channel, you are welcome. Let me know where you're watching from so I can give you a shout out in my next video. And let me also use this time to request of you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that yet. Subscription is completely free. Turn on the notification bell so you'll be the first to know whenever I upload a new video. And to my returning subscribers, thank you for always coming back. You are well appreciated and loved. In addition to the 3 shades of bell pepper, I also have some carrots. I'm also going to be cutting these into small sizes, into tiny small sizes, and after doing that, I'll set it aside. And as usual, I'll be dropping the full list of ingredients in the description box, so do well to check it. Now I went back to the blended coconut. I'm going to transfer into a strainer and strain. So I also use hot water to remove every milk in the chaff. I don't want anyone to waste. You can see how thick that milk is. I'm going to use my spoon to just push down every other milk left in the strainer, and this is what we have. Please, your milk should not be watery at all. Now I checked back on the chicken and our chicken at this point is well cooked. I'm going to remove them from the pot and you can see the chicken broth. You can see how rich and colorful it looks. This is the kind of chicken broth you'll be needing whenever you're making your coconut fried rice or your coconut rice. Now I'm going to remove the broth from the pot and set aside. In that same pot, I'm going to be going in with some vegetable oil. I let it heat up a little, then I added some chopped onions, stirred and allowed to fry until fragrant. I added some ginger and garlic paste, some thyme, and some bay leaf. All of this is just to flavor the oil. By this time, my kitchen was already filled with fragrance from this flavored oil. Now I'm going to stir that and allow it to fry for some minutes before going in with some blended Scotch bonnet pepper and Cayenne pepper. Is the reason why I like to use this two pepper combo whenever I'm making my meals. The Scotch bonnet pepper for the flavor and the Cayenne pepper for the color it brings to the food. Now I'm just going to stir everything together and allow that to fry for a few minutes before going in with some of my Sazon seasoning. This is about a tablespoon of the Sazon seasoning and a sachet of chicken seasoning. I added some seasoning cube and some salt. You can add your preferred seasoning of choice, but I tell you, you don't need too much seasoning whenever you're making your coconut rice. Just use all the seasoning I used and I bet you will have a perfect result. In place of the Sazon seasoning I used earlier, you can use all-purpose seasoning or mixed spice, however you know it. I'm going to stir this and allow it to fry for a few minutes before going in with my washed rice. And for this recipe, I am using basmati rice. You can use any rice that you have available, long grain rice or any locally made rice of your country. Now I'm just going to add it and begin to stir fry. I'm going to fry this until the water in it is completely dry and the rice has become grainy. Before I forget to wash my rice, I used a running water, washed until the water began to run clear. You can wash yours with warm water or use your tap water to wash your rice until the water in it becomes clear. Once the rice is well fried, I'm going to go in with the coconut milk. And next I added the chicken broth. I'm going to stir this to combine and then taste. Another thing you should note whenever you're making your coconut fried rice or your coconut rice, you don't want to add all of those stock and the coconut milk all at once. Depending on the kind of rice you're using, you may need to add your coconut milk bit by bit when your rice is cooking, so you don't have a too mushy or sticky coconut rice. Usually coconut rice is naturally sticky, so if you're not careful with the liquid you add, you may have too mushy or sticky coconut rice and you wouldn't want that. I tasted and adjusted with a little bit of salt. I stirred properly and allowed it to start cooking. Now let me tell you the secret of my coconut rice. The only liquid I add is my coconut milk or the chicken broth. That is why I didn't add all of them at once. When it's cooking, I'm going to be adjusting with the chicken broth or the coconut milk. You can add water when you exhaust your chicken broth or your coconut milk and you feel like your rice still needs some water. You can add little water, but I prefer adding the coconut milk or the chicken broth. That way it doesn't lose taste at all. I'm frying the chicken in a hot oil. You can air fry your chicken or grill your chicken, however you want to do it. And when it turns golden brown on one side, I turned the other side and allowed it to fry as well. Now I checked on the rice and it was still a little bit strong, so I added the remaining chicken broth and also added the remaining coconut milk. And once I added that, I'm going to just cover and allow it to cook until the water has dried up. Now I checked on the chicken and it has turned golden brown and is well fried. I'm going to remove it from the oil and add the remaining one. Allow that to fry as well. The same thing I did to this first batch is what I'll be doing to the second batch. Allow to fry, flip on the other side and remove from the oil once it is well fried. I checked on the rice and the water has dried up. You can see how it looks. I stirred and as you can see from the look of this rice, it is not sticky at all. This is how your coconut rice should be, even though it is coconut rice. So I covered and set it aside. Now in a pan, I added a little bit of oil, allowed it to heat up before going in with some chopped onion. I stirred that properly and allowed it to fry for a few minutes before going in with some chopped carrots. I added the chopped carrots first because amongst all the vegetables I'm using, it takes carrots longer time to cook than the others. Now I'm just going to stir and allow it to fry a little bit. I added some Sazon seasoning. This is about half tablespoon. You can add your all-purpose seasoning or your mixed spice in place of this. I also added some salt, a little bit of salt, and a little bit of Cameroon pepper for flavor. Then I added all the 3 shades of bell pepper. I also added some sweet corn. I'm going to give this a very good mix. At this point, turn up your heat to high heat and fry until the water or the juice that comes out from it dries up completely. Now back to the pot of rice. We are going to be adding the fried veggies into the pot of rice and begin to stir. Stir fry on low heat until the rice and the veggies are well mixed and combined together, and you have your perfect coconut fried rice ready. These tips and tricks works perfectly for both coconut fried rice and just your plain coconut rice. Believe me when I tell you that this coconut rice tasted so good. My family asked for more. I was also wowed at the result of this coconut rice because it was so good. Turn off the heat and serve. And bon appetit! Thank you very much for watching till this time. Please like this video so you can get to more people. Leave a comment, share to your friends and family, and do not forget to hit the subscribe button. Thank you very much for watching. See you in my next one. I never knew fish jollof rice can be this delicious until I tried this recipe, and today I'm going to share with you how to cook the perfect fish jollof rice. Hey precious jewels, welcome back to the channel. Follow this step-by-step guide whenever you're making your fish jollof rice and I guarantee you a perfect result always. To begin, you're going to be needing some fish, and I'm using mackerel fish for mine. You can use any kind of fish you prefer. One of the things you should have in mind whenever you're making or cooking your fish jollof rice is that you need a quality fish broth or fish stock. The same way you season your chicken, your turkey, your beef for a perfect result, that same way you should season your fish always. So I started by adding some sliced onion. I added some blended Scotch bonnet pepper and Cayenne pepper. I added some seasoning cube, dried thyme, curry powder. I also added some salt. Then I added water. The quantity of water is enough water, just enough water to cook the fish. Now I'm going to give it a good stir to combine so that all the ingredients will mix properly with the fish. And after that, I'll cover and allow it to start cooking. So to save time, I already have most of my ingredients prepped. I have some tomato paste, chopped tomato, green, yellow, and red bell pepper, sliced onion, some curry leaf, and some chopped carrot. Then I have a blended tomato and pepper mixture over there, and as usual I'll be leaving the full list of ingredients in the description box, so do well to check it. So now let's dive into the cooking process. I started by heating up the pot. I added some vegetable oil, just enough oil to cook the rice because it's going to be much. Let it heat up a little, cooking on low heat please. I added the sliced onion and I'm going to add some dried thyme. I also added some dried rosemary. I'm cooking on low heat because I want all of those flavors to be gently extracted. I also added some chopped curry leaf and some bay leaf. Having a well flavored oil when making your jollof rice is going to up the aroma and the taste of your food. Now I'm going to stir and allow that to fry a little bit before I added the tomato paste. I stirred that properly and allowed it to fry until the tangy taste or the sour taste is completely gone. Now I'm going to check on the fish. By this time our fish is well cooked. You can see the look of this fish broth. I'm going to separate the fish from the fish stock and then set the fish stock aside. At this point, most people want to sieve their fish stock, but I don't advise that. You see those things inside the fish stock is what we are looking for to cook our jollof rice. Now back to the pot where the tomato paste was frying. I'm going to add the chopped tomato, and I have this leftover pepper mix. This is a combination of Scotch bonnet pepper, tomato and Cayenne pepper. I added it to the pot, and I also have some blended Scotch bonnet pepper and Cayenne pepper. I also added it. Now the Cayenne pepper in this is not too spicy, so don't worry, and our rice is going to be a lot, so it's not going to be too much. Now I added it and gave it a very good mix to combine. Once it is properly combined, what I like to do immediately is to begin to add my seasoning. And I added 2 sachets of chicken seasoning to this. You can add your preferred seasoning of choice. If you want fish seasoning, you can go ahead and do that. Now I added my all-time favorite Sazon seasoning, and after that I'm going to go in with some Aromat seasoning powder, some all-purpose seasoning, and some crushed seasoning cubes. I also added some salt to it. Afterwards, I gave it a very good stir to combine and allowed it to fry for some minutes. If you're still watching till this time, I'm sure you're enjoying the process. Kindly give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to drop a comment of what you think about this recipe. Share this video to your loved ones, and do not forget to subscribe if you haven't done that yet. Kindly click on the subscribe button. Subscription is completely free. I let that to fry for a few minutes before I remove some of the tomato. You're going to see what I'll be doing with this. While the tomato was frying, I already washed the rice behind the scene and I poured into a strainer and allowed water to drain. So now I'm going to be adding the rice into the pot. I'm using a local Nigerian rice for mine. You can use any type of rice that you prefer. Now once I added the rice, I'm going to give it a very good mix to combine. So I added the rice not at once because I didn't want the sauce to be more than the rice or the rice to be more than the sauce. After stirring it very well, I noticed I needed a little bit of sauce, which I then added and gave it a very good mix. Now I'm going to go in with the fish broth. You can see how quality it is looking. So I added everything to the pot and went in with some water. Now the quantity of water you'll be adding in addition to the fish stock depends on the kind of rice you're using. Some rice can be hard, so needs lots of water to cook, and some can be very soft that you just need little water to cook. So know the kind of rice you're using whenever you're making your jollof rice. Now I'm going to taste and adjust seasoning. I added a little bit of salt and I stirred properly together. Now if you're not sure about the kind of rice you're using, it is best to add the water bit by bit. Check on the rice and add the water bit by bit instead of having a mushy or sticky rice. You wouldn't like that at all. Now I added a little bit of water, stirred everything properly, tasted again, and everything was just fine. So I added some curry leaf and some bay leaf. After that, I covered and allowed it to start cooking. Next is to fry the fish. Now, if you want to, you can air fry your fish, but for today's recipe, I'm going to be deep frying in a hot oil until the water in the fish has dried up. And to save time, I moved it to the next stove and it is time to fry my veggies. Now in a pan, I added a little bit of oil. Let it heat up a little before adding some chopped onion. Now I'm going to allow that to fry for some minutes, and when the aroma began to fill up the kitchen, I added the chopped carrot and next I added the chopped green pepper. Now I'm going to add all of the vegetables at once. I went in with the yellow bell pepper and the red bell pepper. Now I'm going to season with just a seasoning cube, and then I added my Sazon seasoning. You can season your veggies with any preferred seasoning of choice, but I would prefer you go with this little amount of seasoning, not too much. I added a little bit of sauce after adding the Sazon and a little bit of dried Cameroon pepper. Now I'm going to stir everything to combine and allow that to fry. So another thing I did was to debone the head of the fish. I removed the part that has flesh on it like this. I added it to the pot, gave it a good mix with the vegetables and allowed it to fry for a few minutes. One thing you will notice when you're frying this is that because of the fresh veggies and the fish, it will start releasing some water. What you have to do is, if you want to, you can turn up your heat on high heat and allow the water to dry up, or you can do it just the way I'm doing it now. Now I felt like if I allowed it to dry up, the veggies are going to overcook, which is what I don't want. So rather I used my draining spoon to separate the vegetables from the water. Now after that, I'm going to set my vegetables aside. So next, I checked on the fish that was frying. At this point, I already turned the fish on both sides and the fish is dried just the way I want it. As you can see, it has turned golden brown. Now I removed the fish from the oil, transferred it into a pan, and now this is what we'll be doing. The sauce that I removed earlier, I'm going to be adding it to the fish. I added it to the fish, and once the fish is completely coated with the sauce, I'm just going to allow this sauce to cook into the fish for just few minutes. And while that was frying, I checked on the rice. At this point, the rice was well cooked and there was no water in it anymore. I just gave it a very good stir to combine. And the next thing I did was to add the vegetables and the fish that I fried earlier, and I began to stir to combine. Now I added the vegetables bit by bit because I already had a full pot, so I didn't want any of them to pour away. And once I am done adding all the vegetables in the plate into the pot, I stirred properly to combine, and once it was properly combined, I set it aside and removed the fish with the sauce and placed in another plate. And that is it, guys. Our fish jollof rice is ready. Now by the look of this, you should already know that it tasted so good. Tell me you're going to be trying this recipe because you're going to be hooked. This jollof rice tasted so good. Now if you watched till this time, thank you very much for watching. Please do not forget to like this video, leave a comment, share so that more people can find this video, and do not forget to hit the subscribe button, turn on your notification bell so that you'll be the first to know whenever I drop this kind of recipes. Thank you very much for watching. See you in my next one. Hello everyone, welcome to my kitchen. Today I share how to cook jollof rice for 9 persons. This recipe is one you definitely don't want to miss out on. This video carries everything you'll be needing to achieve the perfect jollof rice for your home and even for a get-together. So subscribe and sit tight. Let me show you how I achieved this perfect result. So I started with everything that needed to be blended, and first here are some fresh garlic and ginger. I added a little bit of water to this and blended until it is smooth. So this is the after result. I'm going to turn all of that into the plate. And now for the pepper mix and tomato mix, I have some tomatoes here. I have some chili pepper or shombo. I have some Scotch bonnet pepper as well. I have some onion. I'm going to be blending all of this. Now I'll throw everything into the blender. Chili pepper or shombo is one important ingredient when making jollof rice. This is because it takes the color from 0 to 100. When you're making your jollof rice, it makes the color of your pepper mix pop off very much. So now I'm going to be slicing some onions. I threw it into the blender and started blending. I blended until it became very smooth. Now if you notice, I didn't add any water to this because you don't want that mix to be very watery, because I'm not going to cook this before adding it into the pot. So for my protein, I have some goat meat over here. I have some chopped onion and also some seasoning that I'll be adding. Here I have some bay leaf, thyme, curry powder, chicken seasoning, some salt and seasoning cube. I have the ginger and garlic paste and the pepper mix with the tomato that I blended. So now in a pot, I'll go in with the goat's meat, added all of the seasoning, added 1 seasoning cube to it, a little bit like a tablespoon of the ginger and garlic paste, the onion, and some of the pepper mix. When I added this, I'm going to give this a very good mix to combine. And once it is properly combined, I'm going to cover it and allow it to cook. When making jollof rice, your meat stock is very important. The quality of your meat stock matters. It tells how your jollof rice is going to taste. So I opened this after about 15 minutes of cooking and then went in with 2 cups of water to allow this meat cook very well. Now I'm going to stir it and cover and allow it to start cooking until it is tender. After about 20 minutes of cooking, I opened. This is what we have. I stirred this for a while and then took it off the heat. There are 3 ways you can take care of your meat after cooking one. You can air fry, you can dry in the oven, or fry with oil. For me, I'm frying mine in some oil. I added some oil into the pot, went in with some onion to flavor the oil and also the meat when I'm frying it. I then went in with all of the goat meat. I fried this while stirring continuously until it turned golden brown. So while this is frying, let me introduce you to the special seasoning of the day. In case you don't know, this is called nutmeg. I'm going to be pounding this into powder. This seasoning is one that you do not want to miss out on this recipe. So do well to search for it in the market and add it to your jollof rice. You don't want your meat to get burnt, so once it turns golden brown like this, I will take it off the heat. So these are the ingredients that we'll be using to make our jollof rice. The goat meat is ready. I have some chopped onion over here. This is how I chop the onion for this jollof rice. And I have some tomato paste, and this tomato paste is also going to make your jollof rice pop. Here I have some seasoning that are very necessary when making jollof rice. I have some shrimp seasoning, all-purpose seasoning, the pounded nutmeg, and some rosemary. Here is the ginger and garlic. I have some curry powder, some thyme, and chicken seasoning. Then I have also some bay leaf and vegetable oil. Now let's start making the jollof rice. In a pot, I'm going to be adding the oil that I used to fry the meat, and I added more oil to it, just a little bit of oil to that in the pot. And I added bay leaf to the oil before going in with some onion. I'm going to allow this to fry for about 1 to 2 minutes before going in with the next seasoning, and that is the rosemary. Now I'm doing this to flavor my oil, to flavor it from the beginning. So once I added that, I'm going to add the ginger and garlic paste into it. I stirred and allowed it to fry for about 3 minutes before going in with the tomato paste. Once I added the tomato paste to the pot, I'm going to allow this to fry until the sour taste is gone. So while you're frying, you have to taste to see if that sour taste in the tomato paste is no longer there. Today's virtual hug is for Chantal Bogas, watching from Holland. Thank you for dropping that amazing comment. Let me know where you're watching from so I can send you a virtual hug in my next video. After some minutes of frying the tomato paste and the sour taste is gone, I will add the pepper and tomato mix before going in with all of the seasoning I mentioned earlier, and that is the nutmeg, the shrimp seasoning, the all-purpose seasoning, before going in with some curry powder, thyme, and some chicken seasoning. I added some seasoning cube and salt at this point. I gave it a very good stir to combine, then I allowed it to fry until oil began to float on the tomato. While I leave this to fry, I am going to be washing the rice I'll be using for this jollof rice, and I am using basmati rice. You can use any rice that you have, any rice of choice. So to wash this rice, I'm using water from the tap. I'm going to wash this until the water began to run clear. If you're new to this channel, you are welcome. Please do not forget to like this video, leave a comment, and most importantly, subscribe to my channel. Also turn on the bell icon so that you get notified whenever I upload a new video. And to my returning subscribers, thank you for always coming back. You are very much appreciated. I love you all. Once the water began to run clear like this, I know my rice is ready. You can transfer to a strainer to allow water drain, but I won't be doing that because I'll be adding it immediately into the pot. Now back to the pot where the tomato was frying. This is what we have. I'm going to stir this for a while before going in with the washed rice. Once I added the washed rice, I added some little bit of Cameroon pepper. This is totally optional. If you want your rice to be a little bit spicy and hot, you can add that. If you don't want to, you can skip it. After stirring to combine, I added the meat stock and I added some crayfish powder. Let me tell you a secret about jollof rice. If you want to achieve a very perfect jollof rice, do not ever forget to add crayfish. This seasoning takes your jollof rice from 0 to 100. It is very important, trust me guys. I added more water to it. At this point you can taste and adjust seasoning if need be. If not, you can leave it as is and cover and allow this to cook on low heat. Remember, low heat. You don't want to cook that rice on high heat. One of the several mistakes we make when cooking jollof rice is allowing that rice to cook on high heat. You will not achieve the taste you want to. Allow your rice to cook on low heat. That way, all the ingredients, everything you added into the rice will cook into that rice properly and you're going to enjoy it. Now, after some minutes, I opened and this is what we have. I added the goat's meat into the rice, stirred, and that is it, guys. Our jollof rice is ready to serve. You can pair this with a plate of salad or enjoy like this. If you watched this video till this time, thank you very much for watching. Please do not forget to like this video, leave a comment, share, and also subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much for watching. See you in my next one. If you're looking for the perfect way to make the best Nigerian fried rice, then this recipe is definitely for you. Hey precious jewels, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm sharing with you how to make the best beef fried rice. And because this is beef fried rice, we'll be needing some beef. I already washed this beef thoroughly, so I'll go ahead and season with some onion. Added some ginger and garlic paste. That is a tablespoon of ginger and garlic paste, a tablespoon of blended Scotch bonnet pepper and Cayenne pepper, a bay leaf, 1 seasoning cube. I added half teaspoon of salt. I proceeded to add 1 more seasoning cube to it. Now I'm going to give it a very good mix. One thing you should have in mind whenever you're making your beef fried rice is that you need quality beef broth. So the things you use in seasoning your beef matters a lot. Now that is the same reason why I'm not going to add any water to it. I let every ingredient I added cook into the beef properly before adding some water. Now this water is to enable the meat cook properly until it is very tender to my liking. Now I'm going to cover and allow that to continue cooking. And for my rice, I'm using basmati rice. You can use any rice that you have available. You will still achieve a perfect result. Now I'm going to add everything into the bowl and begin to wash. Now there are 2 ways you can wash this rice or any kind of rice that you're using to make your fried rice. First method, pour your rice in a strainer and wash until the water begins to run clear. And the second method is this one that I am doing, washing the rice directly in a bowl and keep removing the water until the water begins to run clear. The reason for this is because it helps remove the starchy, sticky, gummy texture from your rice and every other thing used in preserving that rice. You can see how starchy the water is looking. So you're going to wash this until the water begins to run almost clear, just like this. I washed this rice several times to achieve this result, so have that in mind. It's not just once or twice. You're going to wash it thoroughly so that you remove all the starch from the rice. Once the water begins to run clear, I'm going to transfer into a strainer and allow water to drain. You don't want any water to be in your rice by the time you want to start cooking, so I'm going to set that aside. And now the cooking process. To begin, in a dry pot, I'm going to add some vegetable oil. Now the quantity of vegetable oil determines on the quantity of rice you're using. Now you're going to let that to heat up a little bit before I added 1 tablespoon of chopped onion, a tablespoon of ginger and garlic paste, and then I added a bay leaf and began to fry. For your fried rice, flavoring your oil is very important. I'm going to let that to fry for just a few minutes. Then I added a sachet of curry powder. Aside from the color that the curry powder gives, it also helps to flavor your rice. Once I added that, you can see that there is no water in this rice because the water drained properly. After adding the rice into the pot, I'll begin to toast the rice. Here are 2 reasons why you should toast your rice in a flavored oil whenever you're making your fried rice. Number 1, it enhances flavor, and number 2, it prevents clumping. That means it helps the rice separate from each other and it becomes grainy and don't stick to each other. I hope that makes sense. Now, another thing you should understand is that while you're toasting your rice is cooking. Just know that this is also a cooking process whenever you're making your fried rice. And once the rice becomes grainy, I'm going to add one of my favorite Sazon seasoning. At this point, you can add any seasoning of choice, by the way. I added 4 spoons of seasoning powder. That spoon is not up to a teaspoon. I also added some seasoning cube. I added some dried cayenne pepper and some Cameroon pepper. I added some salt. Be mindful of the seasoning you add to your rice. Remember, you have your beef broth already seasoned, so I'm just going to add the beef broth into the pot and give it a very good stir to combine. Now, this water won't be enough to cook this rice, but you don't need too much of water. Now, I'm going to add more water to the rice. The water should be slightly above the rice. You don't want your rice to overcook. Preferably, you add the water bit by bit when the rice is cooking until the rice is tender, just the way you want it. To make my rice even more flavorful, I added some green bell pepper, yellow habanero pepper, I added some green habanero pepper, and then red Scotch bonnet pepper. Once I added this, I'm going to cover and allow that to start cooking. Now, the next list of ingredients. For the beef, I already cut the beef into tiny bite sizes like this. This is just how I want it for this recipe. You can leave yours just the way they are, but I prefer mine like this. I have some chopped carrots, green bell pepper, red bell pepper, some cooked corn, chopped onions, yellow bell pepper, some green peas and green beans, all prepped to save time. Now I'm going to check on the rice. My rice is almost ready, and some people prefer their rice half cooked, but I prefer mine well cooked and tender. So I'm going to remove all of the peppers that I added into the pot. Once I'm done removing all of that, I'll set it aside. Now let's dive into the next process. In a dry clean pan, I'm going to add some vegetable oil. Not too much, just enough to fry the beef. Now I'm going to add the beef into the pot and begin to fry. Fry until the beef turns golden brown on all sides. Then I'm going to take it off the heat. Something like this. If you're new to this channel, you are welcome. Let me use this time to request of you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that yet. Please hit the subscribe button, it is free. Like this video, leave a comment, and also share to your loved ones. Thank you. Now in that same oil, I'm going to add the chopped onion. Once I add that, I'm going to allow that to fry for just few minutes, and while I was frying, I realized that I had lots of vegetables and the oil would just not be enough, so I added just a little bit of oil and allowed that to fry a little more before going in with the chopped carrot and the green beans, the green peas. Now I'm going to give that a good mix. After adding it, give everything a very good mix to combine. The reason why I added these 3 vegetables first is because it takes longer time to cook than the other vegetables that is remaining. So after stirring that together properly, I'm going to add some Sazon seasoning, just a little bit. Like I said earlier, this is one of my favorite Sazon seasoning. I've just been loving it lately, so I'm going to add some seasoning powder. This is 3 spoons. Like I said earlier, it's not even up to a teaspoon, so I added some seasoning cube too. I added some cayenne pepper, and I'm going to add a little bit of salt to this. Now I'm going to give everything a good stir to combine and allow that to fry for a few more minutes before I added the fried beef. Once I added that, I'm going to stir it properly to combine and just fry a little bit more before going in with the yellow bell pepper, the red bell pepper, the cooked corn, and also the green bell pepper. Note, what I added now are wet vegetables. When you add yours, you may notice that it starts releasing some juice. Do not worry, you can turn your heat to high heat to enable it to dry quickly, then reduce it again to low heat because you need low heat to fry your vegetables, because you want all of the seasoning you added to get into the vegetables, right? So when you notice your vegetables released some juice, just turn your heat to high heat. When it dries up, then you turn it back to low heat and you're good. At this point, my vegetable is ready. I'm going to reduce the vegetable. I added some into the plate and set it aside. I'm going to be frying this in 2 batches. There are 2 ways you can mix your veggies and your rice, but for this recipe I only used one method. The first method is the frying method, which is what I'm going to be showing you right now. So I added some rice from the pot into this pot of vegetables, and once I added that, I'm just going to give it a little bit stir. Then I added some butter. Now this is the secret of this one. Have you ever added butter into your fried rice? I added butter to it and began to fry. You're going to fry this until the butter is completely melted and well incorporated into your rice. I added more vegetables because I felt the vegetables were not enough, and this is 2 reasons why you should use butter whenever you're frying your rice. One, it makes the rice taste richer and prevents the rice from getting soggy. Fry for at least 5 minutes and you're good to go. The second method is to add your vegetables in the pot of rice and just mix everything together, and that is it. Now I'm just going to transfer the rice into my serving plate and serve. Guys, this rice tasted so good. I hope you learned 1 or 2 from this video. If you did, give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment. I love reading those comments. Share to your loved ones. Then again, do not forget to subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification bell so you'll be the first to know whenever I upload a new video. Recreate this recipe and bon appetit. Thank you very much for watching. See you in my next one. Bye.